Hello and welcome back to the 2022 Scrabble Players Championship. This is the live stream presented by Scrabble Go. I am Morris Greenberg and here with Matt Kanek, and you can see we have John Karras and Lisa Odom playing this round. John is going to go first. How are you doing, Matt?
I'm doing great. I'm honestly really excited for this matchup. I've actually gotten to do commentary on Lisa's games before. She was sponsored by, I believe, Scrabble Go in a tournament that was played on people's phones, and she played some really good Scrabble. So I'm excited to see what she brings to the table here at the National Scrabble Championship.
Yeah, I think Lisa's one of the top five women rating wise, if I recall correctly. Really strong player and has played Scrabble for, I want to say, 30 plus years. Just vast knowledge of the game.
Absolutely. She hails from the Twin Cities, I believe, and John Karras down from New Mexico.
Yeah, he's moved. He was a California player, right, and moved at some point in the past 5 or so years, I think, to New Mexico. Uh, California is historically a very strong Scrabble state. New Mexico, it's more up and coming.
Definitely, but it is beautiful. My life dream is to retire exactly out to the desert as John was able to do. So I know they do a bunch of fun tournaments out there too. So that'd be an experience.
So it looks like we're waiting right now for the game to start. I'm not sure if the players aren't sure if they're allowed to start. If someone in the room can confirm that they can start and we can see them on screen and such, that'd be great.
We may be down an annotator. These games are annotated live by people who sit on both ends of the table, and perhaps one of them is in the restroom or grabbing a cup of coffee or something too.
Yeah, and once again, I'll throw the link to Scrabble tournament info if you do want to learn more about playing in places like New Mexico. Uh, is the Swillens tournament in New Mexico every year? I forget
It is,
which state that
yes.
in.
The
Yeah.
Swillens tournament is it used to be a $50 tournament. Now it's 150. They've added a couple L's into the name for an L note or a $50 note. But yes, that's in New Mexico every year, hosted by Mike Barron. And I've gotten the pleasure of going to that tournament one time. It is an absolute blast. It is beautiful, gorgeous tournament in June in the desert. Oh my God, it is a fun time.
Yeah, it's and that's if I recall correctly, that's a very small top division. It's always like 24 players or something like that, right?
Yes, it's a small division and generally draws out a lot of experts. In fact, this year at the Swillens tournament, we saw an appearance of Brian Capoletto for the first time in probably a decade, over a decade in tournament Scrabble. So Mike has a way of reaching out and pulling in some of the biggest top names in Scrabble and just showing him a great time at his house.
Yeah, Brian Capoletto, for those less knowledgeable, former national champion. I know he has one of the most legendary games talked about ever. Him and Joe Edley played a game where Showbiz was played. Just one of the Scrabble legends. And if you have read Word Freak or watched the Word Wars documentary, he isn't one of the main four characters, but definitely a key plot point throughout.
Yeah, super exciting to see Brian back and yeah, hopefully, hopefully that tournament was what it took to maybe get him to play a little bit more Scrabble. Brian is a former national and world champion, and just all around. I think he was a teen savant at Scrabble at one point too. Just came out of Arizona and knew all the words all of a sudden, and played some amazing Scrabble. It looks
All
like
right.
we got the honorary fist bump, and we are set to go. John Karras will be playing first against Lisa Odom on board one of game four of the 31 game National Scrabble Championship.
Yeah, I haven't actually been keeping track of the fist bump versus handshake ratio post COVID. I feel like the fist bump is the more germ-free way, so I'm approving of the fist bump move.
I'm willing to do a fist bump or a handshake because every game I take another bottle of hand sanitizer and pour it directly into the tile bag to ensure that we're all going to be safe. That's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
true. That is Matt trolling. John Karras drew unfairer, but it is rather unfair that he doesn't have the E that he needs to play through. So he'll get to decide now if he plays unfair, if he makes a smaller play like a Furan that allows him to put the F on a double letter, or if he just plays Fur, F-U-R, trying to get a bingo next turn. All of the plays, I think, have some kind of merit, and we'll see what he decides to do.
Yeah, as Matt was saying, they all have merit, and I think we've talked on a few turns this tournament of you can go a few different routes. It really is kind of your style of play. I tend to be a short player, so I like to play fur in these sorts of situations, but I know people like to play long too.
Yeah, I think Fur is definitely the move that a player should make in this instance. It looks like John is electing to play unfair, holding the R, maybe trying to fish for the extension to unfairer, but maybe not.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see
Lisa
which
is probably very
placement.
happy to see him move this around. Oh, he had originally put the I above a double letter that would have given her QI to dump that Q for 21. Now she'll have to play for less. Well, she'll also get quoter from this placement. So that'll be another way for her to get rid of the Q. John's definitely thinking about this very hard, and it's an important decision. I think the real decision is should he play unfair or a different word, but where to place unfair is another question on his own.
Yeah, it's interesting. So in these sorts of situations for the newer players, what experts are often looking at, there are two things you often consider defensively here. It's you consider what tiles are in the double double lane. So basically, the I in this case would be in the double double lane, which would allow for times four play if you can hit both of those. And you also look directly above and below those blue double letter scores, right above and below the U and the F in unfair. So in this case, uh, basically, aside from an X, I think this unfair placement minimizes a lot of damage. And so I think that's why he chose it.
He immediately draws into the front hook fun fair. Thank you to Botchedly for pointing that out in the chat. I want to take a second and point out Lisa's nails because these are amazing. Look at those. That electric blue. I love those. She's going to go with Roquet, I believe, dropping the Q down. I might be inclined to just drop the Q here. EGORST is a pretty solid leave as well. You're going to bingo a lot next turn, but I don't think there's anything wrong with scoring 26 here either necessarily. That's what she's trying to do with her Q.
Yeah, that's interesting. I would even consider keeping the R2, but I understand wanting to keep two consonants versus three consonants. This probably minimizes a lot of worst case scenarios and scoring. So I
Keeping the
get it.
R, Morris, means playing TOQUE or quote
Quote.
instead.
Yep. Yep.
Either
Good
one of
point.
those are also acceptable words, but two consonants versus three is tough and tricky.
Yeah. And the chat also pointed out unfairest as a hook was an option there. Uh, Unfortunately, QORG isn't exactly the kind of leave you want. So that's a big reason why she probably didn't elect to go that route, but definitely cool to see that kind of option.
Yeah, John looking at JOUK through the O. I think that's got to be a very standard move here. It's a way to get rid of some of the abysmal tiles he's drawn while also scoring well. It's going to be 31 points for him. Solid play. Good job, John. And back to Lisa. AACEGOS.
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised Fjord wasn't thought of also, but maybe it wasn't seen. But yeah, AACEGOS. Not as easy a rack to use on this turn if you don't want to use the S. On this board, it looks like it's almost a requirement to use the S and score a bit here.
Yeah. Otherwise, you're
Oh, I
going
missed
through
the
an
bingo also. Oh, wait, no, it's sorry. It's two A's, not two E's. My bad. I was going to.
ecotages or something. Yeah, no, we
Yeah,
got two
yeah, yeah.
A's instead. So Lisa looking at cages and jukes, probably also cages and roquets or roquettes. I literally don't know how to say that word. That's the beauty of Scrabble. You don't have to know how to say any of the words or define them. You just spell them.
So yeah, does she see croquet as another big thing here?
Oh my goodness, yeah, yeah.
That would be such a nice find.
Croquet and something like Oka seems very solid too. Just hold ages and keep the board open for bingo lines and keep your S to score.
Yeah, it's interesting. I feel like Oka Cage, I wouldn't even be opposed to either. If you have the S is super powerful on this board, and very few other tiles are. So I'm even okay playing a bit more closed with Cage. Uh, but yeah, I think if you see Croquet, obviously, it looks like she might be setting up cages and roquettes or jukes. Uh, so it will be interesting. I mean, if you don't see Croquet, I think you basically need to play the S off. If you do see
Correct.
it, then you shouldn't.
Right, right. But I'll redouble, re-emphasize. It is so hard to play on stream because the whole world is watching you, looking at your plays, thinking about your moves. It really does get into your head. And Lisa did a great job the last time I was able to watch her play, but it was not streamed to the same extreme. It was just people playing on their phones, and we had screen capture on. Whereas in this instance, you're in the big ballroom at the National Scrabble Championship with a lot of money on the line. Um, it's so easy to make mistakes on a screen. Looks like on a stream rather. It looks like she's going with cages here, and Juke's gonna score a whole bunch of points right now. And John doesn't look like he's gonna be able to do almost anything as a response to that because he's sitting on 7 consonants.
Yeah. Yeah, this is it's a
This
tough
is
position for John.
You can think about playing something like hard, or you can just
I
exchange here.
I think hand would be more natural given two ends
Oh, I
on his
can't.
rec.
I'm sorry. The stream is super low quality for me right now. Yes, there's 2 N's. Sorry, I couldn't make out
No,
the
no, no,
letters.
it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah, something like hand is one option, or just throw it back. Do you want to score 12 points now and hold 4 consonants, or do you want to score 0 points now and hold probably 2 consonants instead?
Yeah, I think it's exchanging seems kind of natural here. I mean, unless you want to do like FAH maybe, but that seems clunky as well.
Yeah, we don't want to hold NNRD something like that's just not fun at all. Um, is Lisa just now drawing her tiles?
I guess.
She might have been on hold. Interesting.
Interesting. Yeah.
Well, either way, the play is now acceptable. Once Lisa draws her tiles and puts them on her rack, the play stands, and so she was allowed to draw. Her play stands. Yeah, John could play find for almost nothing, or he can exchange. I think at this point, honestly, I would just exchange, and I'd exchange a bunch. I think an S is going to be really big for this game, and I
Yeah.
want as many chances to draw one as I can. So I'm probably trading 5 to 6 here.
Yeah, weirdly, I might just keep the H given given what's in given what's on the board. It's not a very bingo friendly board. There's already an open R in unfair. So it feels like the H might be the most valuable tile of these seven for this board.
Right.
Right? The C is available for stuff. The A off of cages. The H could score the most out of any tile on his rack there. So if he's exchanging six, I might keep the H.
And exchanging with consonants is always extremely hard because it is so marginal between the possible leaves. Is it better to hold ND or RD or just R? Or what if you hold them all? What if you hold N, R, and D? What about the H? Well, the H scores better, but decreases the chances you're going to bingo next turn. So, just an exercise for those of you trying to learn Scrabble at the expert level is open up Quackle or a similar tool, and just put in a rack like what John has right now, and then try all the different exchanges and sim them for 10,000 iterations and see what ends up being the best. It's super easy to get in your own head and be like, today I'm going to keep RD, but tomorrow I'm not feeling it and I'm just going to keep R. But that to me sets yourself up to go on tilt, because if you do decide to hold N, R, and D and you draw 4 consonants, you're going to be upset. But if you only hold 1 consonant, you draw a bunch of vowels, you're going to be upset. So yeah, it's tough, these consonant heavy exchange times, and it's also hard to exchange when the board is open like this. So maybe John does decide he wants to score 12 instead.
Yeah, and for those who are newer to the game, Quackle is a Scrabble AI engine that a lot of experts use to analyze games and analyze turns. We could, if someone could throw a link to Quackle, that would actually be a great thing to do in chat. It's a great way to improve your game. But John opts for hand here, uh, and yeah, if he doesn't think Lisa's holding a Y or an S, it's pretty reasonable. I mean, FRND does have synergy and scores 12 as opposed to 0, so it's not the worst idea. Unfortunately, Lisa does have a Y in this case.
Yeah, John was faced with the tough decision too. Do I get greedy and play hand, or do I be very conservative and play hind? You've got to take the extra 4 points
27.
in this instance. I think if you're torn between those two plays, but Lisa is going to be able to hit back with handy and boyo or something similar, and that's going to be a bunch. The way John is set up, found, I think he has seen Funfair and he's ready to make that play. So at least he's going to have a good comeback available. But Lisa, I think, is going to play Boyo and Handy without having to think much further about this. And yeah, John's going to crush his own. I wonder if he played unfair on purpose, trying to set up this F. Honestly, because we thought that turn was a little bit strange, but maybe John was like, I'm going to crush this.
John, the sense I get is also a pretty fun person. I feel like he would see the fun words.
I do agree with that assessment 100%.
Like,
So here comes Boyo. Boyo's going to score a boatload of points. What is that, 42 or something? So that's going to put Lisa up ahead. She scored pretty well each of her 3 plays. Roque, Cages, and Boyo. Bam, bam, bam. We're scoring. So no bingos, no fireworks yet, but lots of points.
yeah, so he could be considering found. There are other options. You could just play FOU and Funfair as well, because Rind is a really nice leave.
I
Uh,
I love that. Yeah.
but he's opted.
Unbid. So he is continuing to sit on this F. I wonder if he wants Funfair to come down as a bingo or something. But FOU looks like a really awesome play. Maybe he just wants to take away that triple word square from Lisa, though, and make her work for her points. There's not a lot of scoring opportunities on this board unless you have an S for Roques, or I guess the F for Funfair.
Well, or the C for Croquet, which
Correct,
Lisa's
which
now picked
Lisa's
up
now
the
drawn
other.
again.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, so chance number two to potentially see Croquet. I mean, once you miss it the first time, it's even harder to see it the second time, I feel like.
I totally agree. And again, oh, she's got tracked set up, so maybe she does see it.
Yeah, I mean, it would be interesting if she saw it all along and opted for cages. I doubt she would have, just because the is so valuable on this board, opting for cages on that other turn over cage and croquet. But that would have been cool if she did decide that.
I will say something like Oka and Croquet from a few turns ago that would have held AGES as opposed to cages. Um, it's kind of an old school versus new school kind of situation. And Lisa has been around in tournament Scrabble for a very long time. I think back in the day, cages and jukes would have absolutely been the standard. Just score a ton of points. But now people are so much
She
more
sees it.
aggressive. There it is, yeah, tracked and Croquet coming down. So she does notice it. Maybe Cages was just stylistic. Maybe she's like, you know what, I'm not going to get stuck with this G trying to bingo with it. I'm just going to score a ton of points right now. But the T does come down for Croquet, and yeah, she's going to score a lot more points. The scoring never stops. I don't think that's Lisa. I think that's Austin Shin, but I am going
That's
to
an
borrow
Austin
that
Shin.
phrase for right now.
Yeah, and it looks like John has inflow set up off and probably TI. Yep, he's putting it down now. That's 50 points right there. So even though he doesn't get
Wow.
to play fun fair, I think that's the right idea still.
Yeah, holding the F works out. It's not where he would have thought it goes, but it does work out for him. So nice find by John, nice play by John right away, and we got a game on our hands. Oh, wow,
So
yeah, the chat notes that TI is the first parallel word played. Well, I guess handy's a hook, but yeah, that's super interesting. We're just playing through letters over and over.
yeah, it does look very much like a crossword. Like not the really like main New York Times ones, but like the little ones. It
Right,
does this
right.
does look like the crossword board for the crossword game.
Like a worksheet you would get in 7th grade kind of a shape
Yeah,
right now to this
exactly.
board. I like boards that are shaped like this a lot more than I like the staircase just all the way from one corner to the other, stacking 3 and 4 letter words.
Yeah, and so I guess if you're in these sorts of board positions, is there anything strategically you adjust to your game based on that?
Well, looking at this board, yeah, there's a lot of floaters available to try to hit 8 letter words, but other than that, like scoring opportunities are actually very barren right now. And so because of that, you probably want to try to keep more bingo prone letters and hope you can hit an 8 through one of those floaters, or you can play down in the second column from the right, overlapping that O and boyo. But there's not a lot of reason to be thinking, "Oh, I'm gonna keep scoring and scoring," because, well, you can't. I think Lisa's got it down, and I think Pillar's a really good play here as she's got set up. Hold NT, which is bingo prone. Just try to get rid of some of this stuff.
Yeah, the interesting thing about this game in a lot of ways also is that this is our first game we've seen where the scoring is going back and forth. Basically, after each turn, the other player has taken a lead or is very close within 10 to 15 points. So in all of the other games, we've always had the perspective of, oh, well, this player is down 90. How do they make their chances best to claw their way back? Whereas here it's, okay, this player is roughly even. You how do you maintain kind of the boxing match trading blows?
Yeah, curious to see what Lisa's gonna opt to do here. Nothing seems good. Troll is not a bad option. I just don't like the way it sets up Stroll when I don't have an S.
Yeah, yeah. I think she keeps going back to Pillar. I mean, it's one of those plays that we can see from the engine's perspective, top of the list. But you always, in a game, 16 points, is that really the best I can do? You always want to look for something better and feel like you're not missing anything. So, but it looks like she is going to go with Pillar here.
Once again, this is the North American Scrabble Players Championship. This is round 4 of a 31 game tournament to determine the national champion. This round features Lisa Odom from the Twin Cities versus John Karras of New Mexico.
Yeah, and with that, Lisa now pulls into the lead 152 to 140. And she also managed to block the play John had set up of Ivory. So he'll need to adjust and find something else here.
Yeah, I think a good option for John is room probably through the O and inflow. That is going to make this game bonkers because it is just going to completely prevent players from going over to the left side of the board. Not that that's necessarily a bad thing. John is already up a few points, and it's his turn, and he has a blank, so he doesn't really care if this board gets very shut down. He's in the driver's seat right now. Um, but yeah,
So,
definitely. Go
yeah,
ahead.
quick correction there. Lisa's score will be updated to add 16, so he'll be slightly down by 12 after
Gotcha.
that score is entered. But yeah, definitely, it's room will put him back into the lead by 12. Another option is either Boomy or Broomy there. Could be. a bit less closed. Uh, and I mean, I don't know if he's a setupy kind of player, but given how limited the scoring options are, could you even go boom or broom and set up the Y for next turn, given that the other Y was already played when you made hand and Lisa flopped down handy right away?
I know me personally, if you give me a chance to drop Vroom and destroy the left side of the board, I'm doing that 10 times out of 10. So that's going to be that to me stands out as clearly the thing that I would like to do here. But Vroom is definitely a hard word to find just because it doesn't follow most of the conventions of English. Who thinks VR? I know I've overseen that word a few times in games. It's just hard to spot.
Yeah, yeah. So, but I think that area of the board is basically the only area we're seeing plays, which really should tell everyone that a lot of this game, at least right now, if it doesn't open up more, will be focused on a few key areas of the board where you can literally score 20 or 30 points, maybe. This is not, this is going to be a grind of a game. It won't be bingos on top of bingos on top of bingos. This is going to be 20, 30 point plays on top of 20, 30 point plays.
Yes, I think really this is going to come down to who's able to get the bingo. We've got that big line down from the D and unbid, and so I think we're just going to kind of sit here exchanging 20-point blows until someone hits it. John's in the driver's seat to hit it right now just because he's sitting on that blank, but he has so much crap that he has to work his way through. He has to get all these clunky V's and B's and M's off of his rack in order to get into that bingo territory. So I'm all about Vroom here. I would do that, keep my blank, try to stay flexible, score some points, but also make sure Lisa doesn't score points. Vroom does a really good job of that, and see where we go from there.
Yeah, so it looks like he is going to be playing Broomy.
Yeah, I don't hate that either. V blank gives you quite a bit of flexibility, but it's going to depend on what you pull into it for sure to determine which of these plays is going to end up better.
Well,
I
lots of E's
certainly
are out. Oh, sorry. I didn't...
Oh yeah, no, I certainly would have elected for Vroom here, but both plays certainly have merit. Oh man,
Yeah.
those blue nails. Oh, I love them.
So, yeah, there were 10 E's unseen from John's perspective also. And DEV, that could definitely get bingos like develops,
Exactly.
derivers, all sort of things.
Denotive. There's all kinds of stuff. Yeah, it's pretty synergistic. How many V's were unseen to John? Just one? Okay, because he drew it. Now he's got two V's on top of his blank. I don't think he'll be bingoing yet.
Yeah, yeah.
Did consequentially block out Nah for Lisa, so she's probably not happy to see that one go away. And I really don't see any 5-letter word that she can make underneath Broomy to get all the way to the triple word. So tough break for her. She had what would have been, I think, a really nice play to play her way out of this WUG, which is just some really bad combinations of letters. But she'll have to make another play now. And again, as we said, I think it's going to be just back and forwards 20, 25-point blows until someone is able to get a bingo. We might actually see an exchange out of John next turn, or maybe VAV through the A and pillar. I don't know. This game's wild.
Yeah, well, Lisa could play Rung here, WRUNG, through the R and pillar if she wanted to get rid of all three of those tiles still, keeping AAT, which wouldn't allow for John to play VOP. So we'll see if she does that. She has Wantage set up, but that would not score a lot.
Wantage to the E and croquet. That's going to blow the board way open. This is a big lesson, and I don't think Lisa's going to make this play, but this is a big lesson in Scrabble. Just because you know like a 7 or 8 and you have it does not mean you should play it. Yeah, wantage
Yeah.
is a cool word. You know, you've studied it, you learned it, but don't don't play that here. Lisa won't. I know she's not going to, but yeah, you can't just play a word because it's cool.
Yeah, so she's maybe considering Guan GUAN above tract, I think is what making UTAR and NA.
I like that
Uh,
play.
it's a good idea, I think. And the T is one of those like that T lane is one of those annoying lanes where you could just be blocking freak bingos that John has after the last play. Kind of like how we saw last game, Sid just happened to block all of Will's bingos through an I or a T, I forget, with Grandma. This could do
Oh my
similar things
goodness.
sometimes.
That grandma play is still, it's gonna give me nightmares. It's probably gonna give Will nightmares too. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah. Yeah, if we ever interview Sid, like if Sid goes on a run here and just like one of the finalists, that's going to be a question I need to ask him. Like, okay, back to round three where things really matter. Grandma, go. Tell
This
us
will
about
be
your thoughts.
Yeah, that was strange. Go back and watch round three, Sid versus Will Anderson. If you don't know what we're talking about, at some point it was a really interesting situation. John is sitting on both of his V's at this point. Not a lot of good options. He needs to think, hey, am I desperate to bingo right now? Or can I just kind of sit here and bide my time? The board is so bad that you can sit there and bide your time, but Scrabble's always a ticking time bomb. That D in unbid is still just sitting there waiting to be bingoed from. The line next to Boyo is still there. There's opportunity to score 40 or 45 underneath Broomy on both ends. And you could even make that more if you make a play like Axite and YA. So you can't just sit there and mess around and score 16 and wait for your opponent to open, not on a board shaped like this. You need to try to make some forward progress. You need to try to score some points and make opportunities happen as well. I think I would play VAV through the A and pillar for 9 points right now. That seems crazy, but the V's just not helping you do anything right now, and most other letters are going to help you do things. What do you think here, Morris?
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. I think vape could also be reasonable there if you want to create or pave, I guess, if you wanted to create more lanes for your bingoing. That's only a slight right. PEN blank versus ENV blank isn't that much worse, and so I would go for one of those two plays. I think I'm going through that A and pillar almost definitely though.
And can we get our score widget updated as well? It looks like we're at 165 to 152, but Lisa should have some more points after Guan.
Yeah, so it should be 168 to 165.
All
Uh,
right. Yeah, tough break for John. I think he was feeling pretty solid holding V blank last turn, and then to pick up that second V is just not good. If I were John, I would honestly go back in time and not draw that V. I think that would be a good strategy for me. John is just going to drop Vav exactly as I was recommending and score 9, which is not fun. But hey, when Scrabble giveth two Vs, you just play Vav or something probably. He's holding EENP blank, which is pretty solid. And back to Lisa.
Yeah, this is. I feel like we're to some extent having a tale of two Scrabble. Like Lisa feels like has weird vowel combos. John's having weird consonant combos, which can happen if one person has one form of Drek, the other person might have another form of Drek. Uh, Given that the rest of the bag is skewed towards the other stuff that you're not getting. So uh, yeah, Lisa definitely wants to clear out some of those I's, maybe the O also, but and the W. Matt, what's jumping out at you?
I would just play now down from the N and handy, NOW, score 25 points or something. And AIIST is not my ideal leave here, but I don't really know what else to do. I'm going to hope I draw into a lucky bingo and just kind of keep things closed and score points. At least that's what I see right now. I would spend significant time on this turn as well, just to make sure I've evaluated all of the options. These turns are tough, but they're very important.
So I'm looking at Quackle. Now is the second best Quackle play. The best play takes advantage of a hook I did not realize of Shandy is a word. So Wits and
Oh,
Shandy is an option for 34 points.
I could go for a
But
little summer shandy right now myself,
yeah,
honestly. Yeah,
yeah,
that's a nice play. Wow. I wonder if that hook's going to be consequential later on.
yeah. I mean, there are a lot of S's still out. The other thing though is in this position, John just played two V's, which he's probably keeping goodish letters. Otherwise, he would just exchange there. Uh, and if you're Lisa, you're probably noticing there are two bingo lanes on the board, and if one of them is taken, the other one will also be blocked. So, and that's on the right side with the D in unbid or the O and boyo. So she might be playing a play like wait here to partially try to create space on the left hand side of the board too, in case John does have the bingo this turn, like Vav might suggest.
All right, so Lisa's going to need to pull a big draw into that iOS. She does a nice job of scoring points, but that leave can go a bunch of different ways. John is probably very happy to see that because it makes his play, which I think he might have made anyway. Now it scores 8 more. So that's a solid play by John. Unless he had a bingo, I don't see one in that rack, and I wouldn't have spent much time looking.
Yeah, no bingos.
So Lisa, unfortunately, into that, she does pick up an E, which is nice, but she picked up more I's. And Lisa, I just feel like has had a bunch of I's like several turns in a row now, and a bunch of just she keeps getting duplicate vowels that you can't do anything with. So I feel for her a little bit. Yeah, the instinct here is just to drop OI right away, keep EIIST. If she's able to pick up two consonants, there's a very good chance she bingos. One and one maybe, but two vowels will be a death knell for her. She's gonna have to score 10 again and make a similar play. Um, we'll see. Big draw for Lisa. And John looks like has finally pulled into what's going to be this game's first bingo.
Yeah, and I mean the chat. We're feeling for Lisa after she drew two E's to
Oh
that.
my goodness. I said it out loud, didn't I? And then that's what happened.
You jinxed it, yeah. Uh, so deponed. It looks like is what or depones one of the two is what he had set up before. I'm wondering if he's looking at something else now. So maybe he's trying to figure out if there's a way to bingo down from the D in unbid, just because it's more points than something like deponed. But I have the engine up and I can confirm there are no eights starting with D. The only eight available is G pound from the G and gem.
Man, G pound would be wild.
Yeah. Another option here, actually, Epode, EPODE, off of the Y and Broomy, scores 38, keeping N blank. Uh, it's an interesting idea just because in total it will often net more points over two turns than playing a bingo now. But the sureness of playing deponed or depones now uh, and closing off basically all the bingo lanes available, I think I would go for that.
Yeah, I deponed. It scores so little. You can triple the P and the D at least, but it opens a huge hotspot right next to it. And Lisa has just made a fishing play. So if she bingos back, her bingo scores way more than yours. But I mean, knowing what we know, especially when somebody fishes two vowels like that, if they pick up more vowels, they're not hitting again. So yeah, John, if he plays depones here or deponed, as I think he's going to do, it's going to work out way better than epode would. David Firstman in the chat points out that both players are having sincere time issues as well. We're under 10 minutes for both of them already, and there's still a lot of Scrabble to be played in what's looking like it's going to be a pretty tight game.
Yeah.
35.
So John has placed deponed or depones. We're not sure which one it is currently.
He needs to put the D on the bottom to get more points, but it looks like he's made the blank an S instead. Maybe he's not 100% sure that it is a verb, and so he's trying to take the conservative play here. Maybe he thinks the S is going to be harder to overlap. Whatever his rationale for doing it is, that's what he's elected to do. I do see the S circled on the blank sheet. And Lisa can't be happy to see that. You know, it was only a matter of time before somebody bingoed in one of those two lines, but she wanted to be able to respond, and she made the right play, I think, to be able to respond with OI. She just unfortunately picked up EE, which she couldn't do. So I wouldn't be surprised to see something like GIE come down. Just open this board that you're now desperately needing to open, and hope that you're able to get a bingo very soon to keep yourself in this game.
Yeah, yeah, and if I mean, it's it's funny. Like this game, Lisa's down 73 points, and we've seen players in this tournament come back from more already. But this game feels more dead in a lot of ways, just because the board is so constricted. Whereas a lot of those other games had these open boards and just a lot more options of things to try to hit.
Yeah, I do not envy Lisa's position right now. I don't know what she's gonna do to get out of this, but it's just, man, that is not what she needed to see right now. The bingo.
And so there was a question of what the score is. It is 275 to 202 in John's favor right now after that bingo.
We just got a message from the networking people. We may not be able to finish this game on stream. Apparently, for reasons, they're trying to reset the connection in the playing room. It should help with some of the blurriness and quality issues we've had. Should help with some of the lag issues we've had as well. But yeah, we just received word that they're gonna pull this game in about 8 minutes to try to reset all of the Wi-Fi during lunch break, or what would be lunch break for most players.
Yeah. So it's we have the startup cost of new venue, new Wi-Fi. Hopefully, we'll have it running really smoothly in the next few days.
We're always excited to go see new cities. I know the players like to travel a lot as part of the tournament Scrabble experience, and I think Cheryl Kagan did a great job helping us find this venue, and get to experience the city of Baltimore. But new venue does come with some issues, and right now the issue is Wi-Fi connectivity. So we are really hoping over the lunch break we can get everything resolved for y'all and put out 24 rounds of really solid Scrabble over the next 3.5 days. Did Lisa just draw two more vowels? She's played two vowels, drawn two vowels, then played two vowels and drawn two vowels. Again, this is when I would get up and walk out of the playing room, but that's probably why I'm not here at this tournament, because I'm so hot-headed. We've seen two really good comebacks, one successful and one nearly successful already, and you can't give up, but that is so frustrating. Oh wow, she pulled two vowels, but she's actually going to be able to bingo out of it with gaieties, and she sees it. She's got it lined up. Okay, we'll be okay. See, I would have tilted. I would have been upset, but really, I had the bingo all along.
Yeah. So good for Lisa finally getting the stuff she needed. So this will be a closer game, though. John's last play of DOH definitely added a lot to his lead.
And that's the thing about vowels and Scrabble is when you get too many of them, you just can't score. You're forced to score 10 or 12 as you make these fishy type plays. It is so intensely frustrating. And so I go out of my way to just play more vowels than I feel it's necessary, just so I try not to land in these situations. But in Lisa's situation, she was so close to a bingo, EIIST. You can think of just so many thousands of words probably that have EIIST, and it's so hard to pass that up or to break that up. But when you do draw more vowels, it is just not fun.
Yeah, and so the score update now is 310 to 277 for those asking in chat. So John is up and has bingos like Ratlins parallel to Gaieties, making ERTAITEL and SI. We'll see if he sees that, or Latria's is another option. His actual highest scoring one is really hard to find, Mistral, making MEH on the right hand side of the board, and Vovs as well.
Wow.
But
I don't think we're gonna see that. That is so hard. Overlapping a blank and sneaking something in that spot. That's an incredible play. But if I'm John on this board with that rack, I'm just focused on finding any word that actually fits because I can't afford to not bingo here.
Yeah, so it looks like he might be going for Latrias now or something, which will also work. So we'll see. But his options parallel to Gaieties are Ratlins, Latrias, or Retails on the other side. But Retails is a bit riskier.
In any case, it looks like this is John's game. If he finds the bingo here, I'm this is essentially over. So if the stream does end up falling down, um, John's going to take this game on board one probably.
Yeah, and the other crazy thing is, so I think the last tile in the bag is the X.
Are we already there? Is there only one tile left in the bag?
There's only one tile left in the bag. Yeah, a lot of
Wow.
bingos quickly happened. So there is only going to be one tile left in the bag. So depending on the play, if John finds a bingo,